Several weeks ago, we've been focusing on Adriana Kirch, who committed suicide just days after a horrific viral video showed of her bullying, for being bullied by other classmates. Now, in just a minute, we're going to give you the very latest from one of the people who have been charged. It just came in. But first, here's the very latest. The governor molds discipline on the high school after the student's death, with the question who should be running Central Regional High after that death. This is one of the questions being raised. Take a look.
It rips your heart out, and it's extremely angering.
Governor Murphy Thursday weighing in on the heartbreaking death of 14-year-old Adriana Kutch. The Bayville High School student died by suicide 2 days after this video of her being attacked was posted on social media. One of the 4 teens involved today faces upgraded charges of conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, in addition to charges previously filed by the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, ranging from harassment to aggravated assault.
It's an it's an awful tragedy. I can't express that more strongly. Just awful. This precious little girl, her family, the feels like a culture of bullying.
That culture of bullying attracting hundreds to a school board meeting last week. The widespread allegations and outrage may now prompt the state to revisit its existing anti-bullying laws.
I was asked, basically, is everything on the table? And the answer is it has to be on the table. Now, that's separate from the law enforcement channel, which is being led by the Ocean County prosecutor.
The fallout forcing the Bayville school superintendent to step down, but he will continue to earn nearly $200,000 this year. This even after disclosing personal information about Kutch after her death.
When you hear that the superintendent, after what he didn't do and then said, is still on the payroll, is outrageous.
Still, Murphy believes New Jersey has the strongest anti-bullying laws in the country. Though after the death of Adriana Kutch, many will disagree.
It's pretty clear we need to do more, and we're open-minded to doing more, I promise you.
Darla Miles, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Before we get to that latest, let's look into those New Jersey bullying laws. Because I don't think schools are really enforcing those laws. Because really, there's other state laws. Like in the state of New Jersey, no schools are allowed to have soda machines in the hallway because it's not nutritious. Wait, what am I looking? There are some bullying laws in New Jersey. New Jersey anti-bullying laws prohibit harassment, intimidation, or bullying that is reasonably perceived as being motivated either by an actual or perceived characteristic, such as race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity expression, or a mental, physical, or sensory disability, or by any other distinguishing characteristic. New Jersey anti-bullying laws also direct the Department of Education to develop and distribute to school districts guidelines concerning the needs of transgender students, including procedures that ensure a supportive and non-discriminatory environment. New Jersey schools that receive federal funding are required by federal law to address discrimination based on characteristics. That's the law. That's the state of New Jersey. I don't think, and that school district did not follow the laws. Now, here's the very latest. Now here's the very latest from her. It's the most wonderful.
a new charge tonight in connection with the suicide death of a 14-year-old bullied student. Prosecutors in Ocean County, New Jersey say that one of the 4 juveniles already charged is now charged with conspiracy to commit aggravated assault in addition to harassment. This comes just weeks after 14-year-old Adriana Cush took her own life after she was bullied and beaten in a video that was widely shared online. It happened at Central Regional High School in Bayville, and today Governor Murphy spoke about the case.
I was asked, basically, is everything on the table? And the answer is it has to be on the table. We do have, I think, the nation's strongest anti-bullying law. It's pretty clear we need to do more, and we're open-minded to doing more.
The district superintendent resigned since the incident, and all of the teens charged have been released pending future court appearances.
Released pending court appearances? I mean, that's going to upset the community when they hear about this, if they do hear about this. We'll keep following this story, and we'll give you, and on a future show, we'll let you know what happens. Still ahead, more about these wrong-way drivers on the Harbor Bridge. We told you about this last week, almost a week ago. Now there's more from an Uber driver and from the victims. But next, 3 Florida hockey players are suspended after a bully teen committed suicide. This is 4 months. This was about months before Adriana Kirch. Stay with us. Whenever you hear stories about people being bullied, it really makes you sick, or really crawls up your stomach. In the case of Adriana Kirch, after 6 years of doing the show, it's one of the few moments in, like, I feel nauseous. It just makes me sick that the superintendent didn't do enough. He resigned. The superintendent didn't do enough. The superintendent resigned. New Jersey has a strong law, and more needs to be done. Well, I'm glad that I'm not even happy that the juveniles are released pending the investigation. No, they still need to be put in juvenile jail, not being released. They need to be on probation or prosecuted to the full extent of the law. In another case, back in August 2022, a young girl committed suicide after bullying in Tampa Bay, Florida. A 16-year-old took her own life just days before the start of her senior year at Eastlake High School. Her name was McKenna Brown. Her parents say their daughter was severely bullied and harassed online. But the very latest was just from back in October. 3 of the teen's hockey teammates who were allegedly behind the harassment have now been suspended by the Lightning High School Hockey League. Take a look.
I'm devastated and just hollow and broken inside.
It's now been more than 2 months since 16-year-old McKenna Brown took her own life.
She really cared about people. She cared with all of her heart.
A fearless goalie on the ice who put others' needs before her own.
She was the one that would look out for people that felt left out.
Since we first spoke with her mom, Cheryl Brown, in August, more has surfaced about what happened in the hours before her death.
She was attacked. Her integrity was attacked. She was called a bunch of names.
Bombarded with text messages. "You have done all of us so wrong. I hope I never see you again." Brown says the messages were sent to McKenna by a teammate and once close friend of 5 years, who McKenna traveled with to countless hockey tournaments.
McKenna had asked the one friend / teammate she'd mind if she, talked to her ex-boyfriend from 2 years earlier, and she said it was okay. She then realized a few days later that it wasn't okay with the friend based on how she retaliated.
As Brown explains, the messages were in response to a message McKenna sent to the teammate, apologizing for talking to the teammate's ex-boyfriend.
And doing so, it enraged this particular person and just amped up the attack.
Brown says the teammate took to social media, encouraging her followers to cut ties with McKenna.
The intent was to cancel her. In fact, one friend, in quotes, said that her mission was to leave her without a single friend.
Harsh words that Brown believes brought McKenna to a breaking point. Just hours later, she ended her life.
No one's perfect, but how do you do that to somebody? No one deserves that.
Some parents and teammates were appalled after hearing what happened and reached out to the Lightning High School Hockey League to file complaints on McKenna's behalf. Kim Walters and her daughter Sarah were among them.
She always cared about other people. So I knew, like, if that were me, she would be doing the same thing for me and, like, having my back.
The league opened an investigation. So did Sayhoff, or Statewide Amateur Hockey of Florida. USA Hockey called in an independent counsel to do their own investigation. So far, Brown says 3 players have been suspended by the high school league pending the investigation's outcome.
They deemed that it was a breach of their code of conduct, cyberbullying code of conduct.
She says she was baffled when she saw the teammate who sent the text at McKenna's funeral.
Do you feel like she has any sense of remorse?
No, I don't, because she had mentioned to one of her friends that she got what she deserved.
What did you think when you heard that?
I saw red. I was enraged.
For now, Brown says she's putting her faith in the ongoing investigations, hopeful the teens realize the power behind their words.
I just wish she could have seen through it. The suspensions would have still happened, and the repercussions would have been there, and she'd still be here.
Reporting in Palm Harbor, Jordan Bowen, Fox 13 News.
Unimaginable heartbreak for that family. If you or a loved one are in a mental health crisis, you can always call the National Suicide Hotline. It is now just 988, and it will connect you with someone to talk to.
And I'm glad the teens are suspended from this, because really, cyberbullying is just one of the main issues ever. And throughout the 6 years, we've been focusing on much of a lot of bullying here. A lot. Cyberbullying, racist bullying, whatever type of bullying under the sun. Every school district is under the same boat. Now, before we went on break, we focused in on New Jersey laws, and focused on laws about bullying. We looked at New Jersey's anti-bullying law. Now, Tampa Bay, Florida. How strict are their bullying laws? Let's take a look. Florida anti-bullying laws cover off-campus conduct if bullying interferes with or limits. So let's look at this bullying law from stopbullying.gov. There we go. Okay. The regulations, bullying statement, yes. Definition, yes. Those are included. Florida anti-bullying laws cover off-campus conduct if bullying substantially interferes with or that limits the victim's ability to participate or benefit from the services, activities, or opportunities offered by the school, or substantially disrupts the education process or orderly operation of the school. So yes, there are laws. The Florida School District policy must include a list of programs authorized by the school district. My guess is they probably have, the Florida School District has, my opinion is they probably have a strong law. But in this case right here, I'm glad the investigation is open, and once we learn more about this, we'll keep you updated on what's been going on. Well, next, almost a week ago, we brought you one-way drivers by looking into the Corpus Christi Harbor Bridge. It was called Facing Danger. Now, this Uber driver, now you're going to hear a lot more. This Uber driver has seen it all. And these victims, and you're also going to meet the victims of the crash as Pat Simon and Brian Hoffman continue Facing Danger. Stay with us. Before we start Facing Danger, there's something else that happened. A Texas superintendent resigns. Yesterday, this is from Texas Tribune yesterday. Yesterday, the Texas superintendent resigns after a student finds his gun in the school bathroom. In a bathroom. The incident comes as lawmakers debate how to make guns schools safer after the Uvalde massacre and favor measures like arming more educators. If it's a new federal report, If you remember what we talked about arming teachers, we looked from John Stiles' report about arming teachers. I mean, no state's required for this, but it should be optionary for all the teachers. The superintendent of a small school district in West Central Texas resigned this week after parents learned that his gun was found in a bathroom stall by a third-grade student. An incident that comes as Texas lawmakers and town officials discuss school safety in the aftermath of the Uvalde shooting and prioritize measures like arming more teachers. The principal of Rising Star Elementary School told NBC News that he and former Rising Star Independent School District Superintendent Robbie Stuntsville carried weapons on campus in response to the school shootings. Jones and Stuntsville did not respond for interview requests. I mean, how can you resign if you want to arm yourself? You want to be guns on campus with you to arm yourselves, okay. But you don't resign after a kid finds a gun. I mean, there's an old saying, if you see something, say something. I mean, you should, if you're going to resign, it's your choice, but he found the gun and you should be, and if he had a gun, what if he was suspended? If he had found the gun, they would have reported it, then that person would have been suspended. That's probably basically the whole key here. But the superintendent resigned after that in a bathroom. If that superintendent did not have his gun on him before he went to the bathroom or left it in his office, he might still be able to keep his job. And that student couldn't find it. But something's wrong here. But as we've reported on, Texas is now trying to make schools safer and make more laws. So that's the whole point here. We'll keep looking into stories like this, and in a future show, we'll let you know what happens. Coming up next, these people were victims of the Harbor Bridge crash. I was waiting for headlines, but this Uber driver tells his side of the story about what happened. As we start to continue facing danger, how many more have to die? Pat Simon and Brian Hoffman will tell us. And you also meet the mayor, who says that more work needs to be done. Stay with us. Almost a week ago, we focused in on a bunch of crashes that happened on the Harbor Bridge by looking into the deaths and the statistics. We heard from TxDOT, we heard from the victims, we even heard from someone accused of drunk driving. We talked about wrong way drivers. But now there's more to this story. Tonight, you're about to meet these two who say they had a near-death experience. You'll also meet the Uber driver who made a decision. It was a Friday night that probably ended in a crash. And as this aired on Thursday, there were 6 more crashes. You'll also hear from the mayor, who says that something needs to be done. But what about TxDOT? They'll probably respond. Here's Pat Simon.
It was the end to a perfect night.
The stage door is always amazing.
The annual fundraiser at the USS Lexington Museum.
Good turnout, a lot of fun.
A tremendous success for the staff and the museum's executive director, Steve Banta. Worthy of a romantic last dance with Sarah, his wife of 30 years.
And for him to, take a break and find time to dance with me is just, it's that special thing that
It was fun.
makes me happy.
Yeah.
When their jovial night was over at the USS Lexington Museum, the Bantas called an Uber driver to take them home safely. Or so they had hoped.
They had just had a good night out.
The Bantas were riding in the back seat of Forrest Festner's red Dodge Caravan.
We just was chit-chatting.
The van approached the entrance at the southbound lane of the Harbor Bridge,
Real light traffic.
heading towards Corpus Christi.
I was in this lane and then I got into the middle lane.
Suddenly, a driver heading in the wrong direction appeared out of nowhere, straight towards them.
He was going fast.
Forrest showed me where that near miss happened.
Right about now.
All of a sudden, there's these lights coming at us.
That driver, coming straight at them, entered the Harbor Bridge northbound on an easily accessible southbound exit ramp.
I was somewhere right in here.
He said something, we looked up, Sarah said, oh, look out.
It was like slow motion.
For a second, I thought,
And the guy swerved.
what is happening?
It was so quick.
It was just very,
It was barely time to react.
very scary.
Thank God there was hardly any traffic.
I have no doubt that he saved our lives.
Just 2 nights before that close call,
She had the biggest heart of anybody I knew.
Sarah recalled watching our special report, Facing Danger. How 5 people died in head-on crashes from drivers heading the wrong way on the Harbor Bridge. And on average, nearly 1 driver per month had to be stopped, sometimes rammed, by Portland police.
You know, we have seen, you know, the reports that you have done, and so many times that could have turned out very differently.
And now, the Bantas are joining a chorus of those affected by wrong-way drivers.
Senseless.
Like Susan Hardinger, whose sister Julie Gatherall was killed by an intoxicated wrong-way driver on the Harbor Bridge back in 2015.
How many people have to die on this bridge before something's done with these ramps?
It definitely puts things in perspective.
I'd like to see something happen that's more than just some signs getting put into place.
The Bantas, especially Sarah,
No action is an action.
are now demanding real solutions to save lives and avoid a near-death experience like theirs.
There's been enough cases, there's been enough tragedy. We were almost a tragedy. And that needs to stop.
The Bantas are thankful to their driver for literally saving their lives. Brian, once again, Portland Police Chief Mark Corey's officers were ready to put their lives on the line to stop that wrong-way driver that almost collided with that car the Bantas were in.
Yeah, Pat, that's exactly right. Unfortunately, this is something that they're all too familiar with. This you'll remember from this video right here from our special last week.
We'll preview that video when we come back. Stay with us. We've already heard from the victims from last week's report, and we've heard the latest from the sixth victim and from the Uber driver. Now, last week we showed you that horrific dash cam video of that wrong-way crash. But let's look at that again. This time, there was a 911 audio tape that could reveal what happened. Here's Brian Hoffman.
Now, in this latest instance with the Bantas, it was a Department of Public Safety trooper who happened to be in the area that made that stop with Portland PD assisting. They were made aware of the wrong-way driver thanks to a call from CCPD, as well as 2 different 911 calls from other drivers on the roadway.
We got a wrong-way driver on the southbound side of 181.
Portland Police Department, this is Rick. I can help you. Yes, sir. Hey, this is David, CCPD. Just wanted to know, we just got a call about a vehicle heading the wrong way on the Harbor Bridge. They said that it's going at a high rate of speed.
Now, the wrong-way driver made it all the way from the Harbor Bridge to the causeway before finally being stopped. But it's just another example of a wrong-way driver that could have taken a life, even after new flashing wrong-way signage was put in place Tuesday. That's the day before our first special aired right here on Chris 6.
You know, having a flashing sign that says you're going the wrong direction, it might help with a sober person who just made a wrong turn. That might help them. But all the DWIs and the intoxicated drivers that we're dealing with, I don't see how that's going to have an impact.
Pat, while speaking to several different public officials about tonight's special, many of them do support TxDOT's decision to install this wrong-way detection system, but they tell us that more needs to be done. In fact, 2 independent sources tell 6 Investigates that this latest wrong-way driver who almost hit the Bantas and the Uber driver was in fact sober. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And of course, we are still looking into those details, especially after the incident report cites that the driver, quote, performed poorly on that field sobriety test.
Well, you also spoke with Corpus Christi Mayor Paula Guajardo about these dangerous exits and wrong-way drivers, right?
Yeah, Pat, I asked Guajardo exactly what she thinks should be done in this entire situation. She told me that the city of Corpus Christi is in talks with TxDOT as well as city engineers to discuss possible solutions, but did mention that the installation of the wrong-way detection system was not the end of this conversation.
Again, I can't speak for TxDOT, but the fact that they put the lights up, great. Are they helping? Some may say yes, some may say no. Be what it may, we still need to find better solution. Absolutely.
Brian, the mayor, of course, is also good friends with the Bantas. How did she react when she found out that they were almost hit by a wrong-way driver?
You know, Pat, she was shocked, especially because she was at the same exact party that night with the Bantas. As she told us, this hits really close to home, and especially after the fatal wrong-way crash in November.
We may have been leaving the event around the same time, and that is very scary. I didn't even know that. And so, yes, because I was driving, the same roadways they were in coming home. So yes, it's very personal.
Here's a quick look at the 2 exit ramps in question. One of them leads to Power Street, and then the other leads to the corner of Padre Street and Tonquah Street. Last week, we promised to ask public officials the tough questions. On Tuesday, we spoke to the city manager, Peter Zanoni. I asked him personally what the city has done or plans to do to curb wrong-way drivers on the Harbor Bridge.
You'll hear from that city manager coming up next, along with more about this. So stay with me here. It's gonna be a real eye-opener experience for you. We'll be right back. Back to our story. We've heard from the mayor. We've heard from the victims, especially the Uber driver. But what does the city manager have to do about this? Now remember, the mayor does not speak for TxDOT, but she should speak for TxDOT. Because really, this is all about it. People may say, oh, well, it's like this, 50-50. 50% of them said it works, while 50% said it doesn't. So what does Peter Zanoni have to say? Once again, here's Brian Hoffman.
We're more interested in the flashing light alert system that exists. So more signage, better lighting, more alerting with flashes is something that we think will improve the safety of the on-ramps.
And as Chris 6 News reported in our special, the Portland Police Chief right there, the Portland City Manager, and San Patricio County Sheriff do not believe this wrong-way detection system will even be effective. They asked the city of Corpus Christi and TxDOT to make meaningful changes, including closing the exit ramps. We asked Zanoni which action is being taken beyond the wrong-way detection system. Zanoni said that the city recently conducted an engineering study that looked into the possibility of closing the streets that are connected to these ramps. They plan to talk to businesses in that area to see if they would be affected, and Zanoni expects the city to wrap up plans that could potentially lead to the closures of Power Street in the next 3 months. We've requested a copy of that engineering report as well.
But that probably has not been happening here. And like people say, it may have worked, it may not have worked. But when you're dealing with wrong-way drivers, we need to really educate these people. Really educate and help them and say, hey, if you drive the wrong way, you can really get into a crash here. Let's hear more from Peter Zanoni.
Closing some of the off-ramps, we're certainly amenable to that. Safety, again, is top priority, so inconvenience a little bit. If it over-trumps safety, or the other way around, safety over-trumps inconvenience, and we're okay with that.
Brian, that's a first, and that's new. It's strong words coming from at least a city official on the Corpus Christi side talking about shutting down an exit ramp, at least one of them.
Yeah, that's big news, and definitely something we're going to be following up on.
Absolutely. Now on to a personal note for both Brian and myself. Part of the focus of the investigation played out right in front of our eyes. We actually saw firsthand how easy it is to drive the wrong way onto the Harbor Bridge. We nearly witnessed a tragedy last week as we just finished recording our Facebook Live.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Pat. Now, after that live, you and I had to chase down a driver of a truck going the wrong way on Power Street exit ramp. Now, this happened right after our photographer Mike Salazar got done packing up all of the gear from our 6 p.m. live and Facebook Live that you may have seen. We were saying our goodnights when a driver went driving down Power Street and up onto the ramp behind us. Pat and I, we probably looked like madmen out there. We weren't even thinking about getting the video. We were just trying to stop this guy. We went running up, waving our arms around. You were looking up traffic up on the Harbor Bridge, making sure no one was going to hit him, right?
That's exactly right. And so it was that close of a situation. It could have been a very, very bad outcome that night.
Again, was after those flashing lights were installed. He locked eyes with us, too. He did not even look at the signs. And he locked eyes with us, saw what we were saying, and then turned around on that off-ramp.
Very close call. Now here's an update on our fight to get more information from TxDOT. It all began on February 1st when we asked TxDOT's Public Information Officer, Ricky Daly, for an update on that wrong-way detection system. On February 10th, we also sent TxDOT a list of specific questions about the fatalities on the Harbor Bridge caused by wrong-way drivers, dating back to 2015, including any proposed fixes. TxDOT had not responded to our questions by the time Part 1 of our special aired on February 15th. City Manager Peter Zanoni says the city is looking at shutting down Power Street. And Mayor Paulette Guajardo tells Chris 6 News any decision made would be made in cooperation with TxDOT. New information tonight. Just a few hours ago, TxDOT provided only a statement rather than answering the questions we sent to them nearly 2 weeks ago. TxDOT says in part, quote, while we can implement all the engineering enhancements possible to build safer roads, at the end of the day, drivers hold the key to driving safely. We continuously encourage drivers to make smart choices when behind the wheel, including never drinking and driving, paying attention, driving to conditions, and always wearing their seatbelt. As our media partner, we hope Chris 6 will help us spread these important reminders as we work to end the streak of daily deaths on our roadways. TxDOT did mention lighting upgrades in that statement, that they're working on those upgrades. We posted their full statement and the locations of those upgrades on our website. Meantime, what's next at the legislature? Well, I contacted our Coastal Bend delegation for their response. We did hear back tonight from Senator Juan Chuy Hinojosa. He said, quote, while ultimately safe driving is the responsibility of all drivers, TxDOT should also use every tool available to them to implement solutions to help prevent wrong-way crashes. TxDOT has already taken action by improving signage at these ramps, installing the wrong-way driver notification system that is expected to be completed by May, and is evaluating and communicating with local governmental entities about additional improvements. I also sent a copy of our Facing Danger special report to State Representative Terry Canales. He's the chairman of the State House Transportation Committee. He said that he would work with our local state delegation to find solutions to save lives. We'll keep you posted.
As we wrap up this part of our Facing Danger special, we want to think about the words from you, our viewers. Sometimes those are the most powerful.
Indeed, like this post on our Facebook page from Melanie Betancourt. My aunt died 19 years ago, she says, a drunk driver going on the wrong way on the causeway going to Portland.
Or this one from viewer Petra Vegas posted, no sign is going to make a difference at night to a drunk or sleep-deprived driver.
And then there was this Facebook post from Gretchen Stinson. My daughter is at a dance at Hoegmeyer's right now. I'm sitting in the car, just pulled up to pick her up at 10, saw this post. I gotta say, I'm wide awake, completely sober, not running late or hurrying, calm, alone, able to concentrate. and getting here was a harrowing experience. Coming from crosstown to Buffalo to Staples to here, I totally understand now how so many people end up on the bridge going the wrong way, drunk or not. Yes, I'm sure driving drunk makes it so much more confusing, and they should not be drinking and driving. But seriously, this is confusing and dangerous.
Strong words in hopes of strong answers and strong changes. We'll, of course, keep you updated on the latest developments with this Harbor Bridge saga.
To look at all the reporting that we've done on this wrong way driver issue on the bridge, and to keep up to date on the work we continue to do for you, we have set up a special tab on our website. It's called Facing Danger. Don't go away. More Chris 6 News at 10. Next.
Wow. And you know what? I may plan on sharing this. I'm planning on sharing my opinions with Pat and Brian about this, because really, this is really an educational tool for all you drivers out there. What's the common sense that can be done? I'll tell you. Next. Stay with us. With over 8 years of these accidents happening on the Harbor Bridge, and less and more is being done to prevent this from happening, the question is, what else can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Well, for drunk drivers, we put them in jail. Does that help? Probably so. What about wrong way drivers? Do we need to install a system? Probably so. Do we need to reteach them while their driver's license is suspended? I think education is the best tool ever. Now, I'm not a driver, but if I were a driver, if I was driving a car, and God forbid, if I drove a car, or a truck, or an SUV, or a Bronco, or a Ford, or a Chevrolet, whatever car, if I were to drive and see all these wrong way drivers, I would seriously get a winch, back up in reverse, make them, and pull them over and say, blow a whistle, read the sign, wrong way. Follow the sign, dummy. Seriously though, education is the most important key ever. We need to re-educate drivers, whether they're sleepy, whether they're drunk, whether they're driving the wrong way. We need to educate. That's why we have driving classes. That's why state law says you have to have a license in order to drive. Now, I don't know about an under 21 ID, but if it's not a driver's license, then you may get pulled over. Like, license please. I don't have a license, so here's my under 21 ID. That's not a license. Step out of the car. But I don't drive, and I ain't going to drive because I do not want to be in an accident. I was in an accident one time. I was in the back seat. My mom and I were going to Whataburger, and we hit a car. That was the very first accident I was in. No injuries, no nothing. I was completely safe. Completely safe. I was completely safe. There ain't no injuries. There ain't no nothing. Was that on the Harbor Bridge? No. It was here in Flower Bluff. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a traffic sweep. Making sure they're adhering to those traffic signs. After watching that report, I'm really going to be more careful. Sidewalks are closed because the traffic here in Flower Bluff is just closed because they're doing the bond thing. But like they said, there are more solutions to what's going on here. And if we don't come up with these solutions, then what really needs to happen here is we're on a path, we're sitting on a power cakes when it comes to wrong-way drivers. If one person goes the wrong way, or just like Harry Potter. Avada Kedavra! Like that. Someone hits head on, Avada Kedavra! Like that. It's like a big knife. I mean, wrong-way drivers are like a big knife coming at us. You never know when it's coming. And so, ow! Ow! I'm losing a lot of blood! Ugh. But seriously though, it ain't a joke to be messing around. I'm not making, now, if Pat and Brian watching this, I'm not making you reporting a joke. I take stuff like this very, very seriously. It ain't a joke. I'm not making you reporting a joke. I take it very seriously. When I watch this, I take everything a lot seriously. When I first created this show 6 years ago, I said to myself, I'm going to deal with a lot of issues, and I'm going to give people a voice. And I'm going to help people in need. And according to these victims, have had a lot of help they need to prevent this from happening. There are ways you can do this. Like in my first report, don't drive at night. Always have your headlights on. Always call 911. If you see a wrong-way driver, you take a snip of that picture, and then you pull them over. If you have to run them down, your choice, but you're gonna get in an accident. As for TxDOT, well, they're working on this, and as for the mayor and the city manager, they're working on it. But more needs to be done. In the coming weeks, we'll talk about sleepy drivers and how you can prevent driving while sleeping from happening. We only focused on driving while black, and in the coming future, we'll talk about how law enforcement officers are just pulling or just stopping African Americans because of the color of their skin, which is an outrageous issue. We'll keep looking into this story like this, and on a future episode, we'll let you know what happens. And Pat, Brian, I want to let you know, if you're watching this, I'm not making this your story. I took it very seriously, and I make a joke out of it. I mean only one joke out of it, and if you and Brian are offended, I'm very sorry. But I do take it very seriously, though. Throughout the 6 years, I've taken every issue. I've taken every issue, like dissecting an animal with a little knife and looking at every single issue with a microscope. Because really, when we deal with issues like this, we gotta face them and come up with solutions. The problem is wrong-way drivers. The solution is a sign with a light. The problem is drunk drivers. The solution, jail time for the drunk drivers and re-educating them before they get put out on the road. We take away their driver's license, like for kids. Take away your driver's license, take away the cell phone. That is basically the whole key here. Coming up on Give Me a Break Saturday, you're going to meet a man who knows he will die, as he was the result of a horrific murder. You'll meet the warden and the attorney as they go through the process and rehearse about what it takes to be on death row. You also hear the victims' families and see the murderer and the father come face to face. You will be there for the judgment at midnight. That's Give Me a Break for this Friday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Saturday night. For all of us here at YouTube, drive safe out there and have a good night.